The story of Queen Esther. Long ago in the ancient land of Persia, which today we know as Iran, there was a king named Xerxes. Now, King Xerxes ruled over a vast empire that stretched from India all the way to Ethiopia, and he had many wives, but none were as beautiful as his new wife, Queen Vashti. She was absolutely stunning, and when the king held a great feast for all his nobles, he decided to show off how beautiful his queen really was. So he sent a message to her saying, "Show me, Queen Vashti, the woman who is beautiful, who is pretty, and who is lovely." The queen didn't like the sound of this request, so she refused to follow the king's orders. So then the king was furious, and he said, "Whoever the king has commanded to appear before him when summoned shall do it." And so the king took away Queen Vashti's crown and made her famous throughout the kingdom for her stubbornness. Now, after this, whenever the king wanted to find a new queen, the royal advisors would go out into every corner of the vast kingdom to find a woman who was even more beautiful than Queen Vashti, but they never found anyone, until one day they came across a young Jewish girl named Esther, who was living with her cousin Mordecai in the capital city of Shushan. Now, Esther was very beautiful, but she was also very humble, and she hid the fact that she was Jewish from everyone. But nonetheless, her beauty impressed the king greatly, and so she became the new queen, and Mordecai moved into the palace to be Esther's guardian. However, there was a wicked man in the king's court by the name of Haman, and he hated Mordecai because he wouldn't bow down to him. So Haman went to King Xerxes and said, "There is a certain Jew who lives in your kingdom, and he has broken the law by not bowing down to me. Should I wipe out all the Jews in the kingdom?" The king said, "Do whatever you want." And so, without telling Queen Esther that he was Jewish, Haman set a date and sent invitations to all the people in the kingdom to come and celebrate with him as he destroyed the Jews. When Queen Esther heard about this plot, she was afraid, because if people found out that she was Jewish, she could lose her life along with all her people. So she invited her cousin Mordecai to come over for dinner. And Mordecai said, "Don't worry, Queen Esther, don't be afraid. You are the queen of the biggest kingdom in the world. Don't you think someone will come to save you and your people? Why don't you go to the king and ask for help?" Then Esther replied, "Don't get me wrong, Mordecai. It's not that I'm afraid of what Haman may do to me. I know that I am pleasing to the king. However, 2 weeks will pass until the king invites me to come to him again. Also, it is forbidden for me to invite the king to come to my house. If I do, I could be put to death." Then Mordecai said, "I understand, Queen Esther. It seems like God placed you here to save his people. I mean, look at how all this happened. You just became queen, and now your people are in danger. This must be why God saved you from being killed in the palace along with Queen Vashti. And now God is giving you another chance to save your people from destruction. You have to realize, Esther, that you are more than just a beautiful queen. God has called you for something bigger than yourself. Do you want to be remembered throughout history as a coward or as a hero?" Then Esther replied, "All right, Mordecai, I understand. I will go to the king and risk my life. Who knows? Maybe God will save me and my people." So then Esther prepared herself, put on her most beautiful gown, and went before the king. And when King Xerxes saw his beautiful wife, he fell in love with her all over again and said, "What do you want, Esther? You have not asked for anything, and no one will dare to stand against you." Then Esther replied, "If I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases you, let my life be given for my people. for I and my people will perish. But if we are saved, we will live." Then the queen told the king that Haman had plotted to destroy the Jews, and she said, "You should put Haman to death instead." And when the king realized how wrong he had been, he ripped off Haman's nobleman's robe and had him hanged on the same gallows he had built to hang Mordecai. And then the king gave Mordecai Haman's position as the highest official in the kingdom. And Queen Esther and Mordecai saved the Jewish people from destruction. Now, later on, when Queen Esther's enemies heard that she was Jewish, they planned to take over the kingdom and kill her and her people. But once again, God protected Esther and Mordecai, and they lived happily ever after. So what should we learn from this story? First, Queen Esther risked her life to save her people. Even though Queen Esther knew that if she went to the king uninvited, she might be put to death, she still did it because she knew it was the right thing to do. And we should be willing to take risks for what is right, too. Next, Mordecai helped Esther remember who she was. When Esther was feeling afraid and unsure what to do, Mordecai reminded her that God had called her for such a time as this. And sometimes God will call us to do things we don't feel capable of doing. And we should always remember that God has not called us according to our abilities, but according to His possibilities. Lastly, King Xerxes shows us that it's never too late to change. At first, King Xerxes was angry at Queen Vashti for not obeying him, and then he listened to Haman and almost destroyed the Jewish people. But Esther and Mordecai showed him that he made a mistake, and he had the courage and humility to admit his fault and change. And in the same way, it's never too late for us to apologize when we are wrong and change our ways. Well, I hope you enjoyed this animated Bible movie about the amazing story of Queen Esther. We hope you learned about Esther and her people standing up for their faith despite persecution. Remember, no matter how hard things may seem, God is always in control, and He has a plan to save those who believe in Him. And until next time, God bless you, and remember, Jesus loves you.